My dear students, I am Vinod sir from EduShastra, and today we will have the first session with me on reading comprehension. Okay, now join me quickly, and any question that you have can be posted to me at the end of the class. As you know, when 10 minutes to the class, at the end of the class remain, then you can ask me. Okay. And how many of you are there? Let me read out your names. Akash, Ashutosh, Kabir, Lakshita, Nandini, Pragati. Now I might miss a few names because you see my eyes. Okay, so old people tend to lose their eyesight. Okay, so join me quickly, and then Sushma, Swati, 2 pi. Okay. Vijayadhar, no name. Now I don't know who that is. Okay. Anyway, all said and done, you can always ask me your questions in the chat box. Anything related to your understanding of the question or the passage itself, we can talk about that. But when you want to chat with me about any other topic other than the subject we have in hand, then you'll have to wait till the last 10 minutes. Okay, so let's start. Let's not waste time. And then, okay. Now, here, okay. Now, what is a reading comprehension? Now, let's start. Okay, now I've been letting in students. Okay, doing a lot many things. Now let's start. Now the thing is, how many of you have any idea about what a passage is? Passage kya hota hai? How many of you know what is a passage? Can you write something about a passage? What is it actually? What is a passage? I'm waiting for your responses in the chat box. Quick. Let me drink a little water. Yes. A collection of sentences. Well, a passage is info or a point of view by an author on any subject. Now, that is the best explanation till now. Okay. A passage is info or point of view by author on any subject. Okay, very good. So that's very nice. I understood that. Now, that is actually a paragraph consisting information about any particular topic. See, it's not only information. When I take a piece of paper and a pen and sit down to write, then immediately you understand, if I did not have a purpose, I wouldn't be sitting down to write. Nobody has the time. Speaking is a different thing. Singing is a different thing. But when it comes to writing, then normally we will not take that effort until and unless you really have something to say, which means we want to actually communicate our point of view, a solution, compare, contrast, something you want to do or tell the other person. So you sit down, because you cannot speak, you sit down to write. So every writing has a purpose. Without a purpose, you will not write. You understand that? You will not communicate. Usually we do not even communicate if you don't have any purpose for communication. Okay, you keep quiet. You don't talk to your friends all the time until unless you have a purpose. Okay, friendship is a different thing. Sometimes even without a purpose, we talk. Okay, but writing, if you're going to write something, then you better have something to tell your friends. Otherwise, you will not even be thinking of writing. Now, having said that, Having said that, let's be a little more serious and say, okay, when I write something on a topic, suppose I want to write about nuclear medicine being beneficial in the treatment of all kinds of cancer. Nuclear medicine being beneficial in the treatment of all kinds of cancer. Now, suppose I want to tell my audience about this. I want to send this information to them that nuclear medicine can be a huge benefit for treating cancer. But how do I do it? How do I do it? What I do is I make sure that I actually tell you what I'm going to say, what my purpose is, and also support my purpose with the supporting evidence or info. So basically, whenever we are talking about a passage, we are essentially talking about two things. Okay. We are essentially talking about two things. Okay. A passage itself, first of all, understand this. A passage itself can be called an argument, and it is not the actual argument that we have when we are fighting somebody. An argument is a point of view. Okay. Now, this argument is always divided into two parts. There are two components to the argument. That is the passage. That is the message that the author wants to give. One is the purpose. One is the purpose. The purpose can take any format. It could be a solution he is trying to give to a problem. It could be an issue. It could be an issue for which he has cited reasons. Okay. So the purpose can take any shape, any form. But to give you a solution, you should first of all have a problem. So we call this premises. We call these premises. Only if you have a problem, you're going to give a solution. Okay, I cannot take up a piece of paper and start writing my solution without telling you what the problem is. Okay, or until and unless my audience knows the problem already. Okay, now issue, then there must be the reasons. Okay, so what I'm telling you is the premise can take any form and the conclusion can take any form. That is the purpose. Purpose is called the conclusion also. So every time we are analyzing a passage, now look at this passage. Okay, these are the kind of questions that come, you know already. There is a paragraph given, a longer paragraph. Okay, but for convenience sake, I've taken a smaller paragraph, and questions come like this. It says the author's main point is that, something like that. Okay, you don't have to read it. I'm just telling you what kind of questions come. Now, the author's main point, is it mentioned anywhere, sir? Is it mentioned anywhere? Or we simply, author's main point is mentioned anywhere, or we have to guess it, sir? Okay, more often than not, the author's main point is actually written in the passage. But where is the question? So let's come to that part. Let's understand where that, okay, where that passage, where that information could be. A passage is a written communication, or call it an argument if you want. Okay, and it has a message. The author has a message, and this message is supported by supporting information. Okay, the message can be a direct message or an indirect message. It can be an indirect message. Now, the supporting information, again, when you look at this, the supporting information can be one or many, and it can take any shape. It can be the author's experience itself, data, research, anything. Okay, so this is how an argument or a passage is structured. This is the first thing to know. Now, the problem is, sir, if I have the main idea, okay, if I have the main idea, then where will it be in the passage? Where will the main idea be in the passage? It can be anywhere. That is the first thing to know. When you are reading a comprehension passage, you should know that the conclusion, the point the author, the main point the author wants to make could be anywhere. The first line, the last line of the first paragraph, the middle of the second paragraph, the last line of the third paragraph, anywhere. Okay, a good reader actually looks for that message all the time when he's reading. So what are some of the components that could be there in a passage, sir? There are four. Okay, this background information and introduction to an issue is optional. The author may choose to give you the background information, like in the case of nuclear medicine, if I believe that my audience do not know, the audience does not know what this nuclear medicine is, then I'll give you a brief about what nuclear medicine is and then go on to make my point. Okay, so this background or introduction to an issue is an optional thing, but the message, the primary purpose must be there and the supporting information must be there. Sometimes the author also makes sure that because I've made a point elsewhere, I made it in the first paragraph and I'm writing 4 paragraphs. So at the end of the 4th paragraph, I reiterate, I repeat what I've already told you. जो पहले बोला है उसी को मैं एक बार repeat भी कर देता हूँ. लेकिन ये भी optional है. ये भी optional है. तो 1 and 4 are optional. These 2 are very important. These 2 together, the message, the central idea, the primary purpose, plus the supporting information called the premise or called the argument. So at the max, the argument can have 4 components. At the minimum, it has to have 2 arguments. Now, let's look at some examples here. Identify the different elements. Now, tell me which part is the premise and which part is the conclusion. Here, as it is raining, I'm going to take an umbrella. Now, tell me which part. The green part is the premise and the pink part is the conclusion, or how is it? It's very easy, just to give you an idea. Green is premise and the pink is green is premise and the pink is your conclusion. Very good. Very good. Aditi, 2 pi, very good. Now here, it's a Sunday. We are sure you are not going to be at the gym as you must be sleeping. So tell me the 2 pieces of premise, the 2 premises, and then tell me the conclusion. Where is the conclusion? Again, the pink one. The pink one is the conclusion. Okay, it is in the middle. You see, it's a Sunday and you must be sleeping. You must be sleeping. Both together give us this conclusion. No. Blue one, Archit Gupta, as you must be sleeping is one reason. It's a Sunday, so you are not going to be at the gym. So you are not going to be at the gym. You see, so thus, hence, I can actually write this here. So which one is the conclusion? The conclusion is the middle part, which means the premise could be more than one. कारण कितने हो सकते हैं? मैंने कोई एक पॉइंट बनाया, उस पॉइंट के कितने कारण कितने हो सकते हैं? It's my wish. I can use as many premises to prove a point as I want to. 1. Second is, she cannot take the CDS this year. She'll only be 18 years and 6 months old in May. Okay. So which one is the conclusion? The green part is the conclusion. Okay. The green part is the conclusion and this part is the premise. Okay. I have purposefully changed the colors because you have to know how to identify the premise part and the conclusion part. As soon as you understand this, everything else is easy. Now, there is one more thing. This is one part of it, sir. The second thing is, sir, how many conclusions can be drawn by an author in a passage? How many conclusions can be drawn? There can be multiple conclusions. I can make smaller points with smaller premises. Like you see, I have a sub-premise. If you go, your brother will go. If you go, your brother will go. If your brother goes, then your parents will go. Which means everybody goes to the cinema. So what have I done? One premise, one conclusion, another premise, another conclusion, and then I make the main point. So what you need to understand is there could also be sub-premises and sub-conclusions. Okay, and then there is the main conclusion. It's possible that there are many conclusions drawn in the passage, but putting all of them together, I paint a bigger picture. Then that bigger conclusion is the primary purpose. So what we need to understand is it's not important that there be only one conclusion in a passage. There could be multiple conclusions. Based on all of them, I draw the main conclusion. So the problem with our passages is most of the questions are like this. What is the primary purpose? What is the central idea? What is the summary? These questions can be handled only when you know that the author is trying to make a point based on some evidence. Now, having said that, now let's come to the actual part now. Okay. Okay, now come to the questions now. Some questions we'll try to do, and we'll also learn other things now. Now you know the different components of a passage. Now, how many types of questions come, sir? How many types of questions come? Normally, in a say an examination which does not test you so much on for your communication skills, okay, they may not ask you many questions, or they may not ask you indirect questions. They'll ask you mostly direct questions. Okay, most exams have a combination of all. Most examinations have a combination of all. That is direct questions, indirect questions, and comprehension-based questions. There are three types of questions possible: direct questions, indirect questions, and comprehension-based questions. What are these? First is this, the direct questions. Direct questions are those questions for which you can find the answer in the passage itself. Kuch karna nahi hai. Direct question ka answer dena hai. Keep reading the passage. You will find the answer to the questions. Okay, those are the easiest to answer. Those are the easiest to answer. I'll also tell you how to read a passage. Now, people keep asking me, sir, should I read the questions first and then read the paragraph, or the paragraph first and then the questions? What is the best approach? That we will come to later. First of all, let us understand the direct questions. Direct questions are the easiest ones. You can see what is the synonym antonym of the highlighted word in the context of the passage. See, mostly a word highlighted is asked in the context of the passage. So they will not ask you the dictionary meaning. Mostly it is not the dictionary meaning, because the dictionary meaning of a word can be multiple. The same word can have multiple connotations. So it's important that you understand the word in the context of the sentence. Anyway, so what is the synonym antonym? Which city does not have a public transport system? Something like this, which is complete, clearly written in the passage. Suppose it says Venice does not have a public transport system. It's clearly written in the passage. You read it and answer this. These are the easiest. How many reasons has the author cited for some issue? And you see 5 reasons in the passage. Done. Those can be answered. These are the easiest ones. But the second ones are not all that easy, because it requires the ability to understand the passage itself. These are called comprehension-based questions. Comprehension-based questions, immediately you need to understand the 4 components. If you have understood the 4 components, especially the 2 components, that is the premise and the conclusion, then you would be able to answer these questions. What are the comprehension-based questions, sir? The first one is the primary purpose. What is the primary purpose? Central idea, main theme. You can use any word you want, but what is the main passage mainly concerned with? Things like that. Here, I'm talking about why the author wrote the passage. What was the main purpose of writing the passage? Now, why do we use this word main? Main, because there could be sub-ideas also. There could be. But mostly what happens is, for our passages in exams, usually you get one main idea supported by many supporting elements. Okay, normally we don't have multiple conclusions and multiple premises. They usually don't come in your exams. But having said that, be prepared. Okay. Now, the second question is, what is the best title for the passage? How do we decide that? Okay. Then, what is the tone of the author or the passage? These three questions are called comprehension-based questions. Now, for this, you need to understand the passage well. That is, what is the main point being made and what are the supporting elements. Now, there is one good thing about this. If you know the primary purpose of the passage, then you can answer the title question very easily, because title is nothing but a shorter version of the primary purpose. Like when you're reading the newspaper, we read the headlines and we skip the stories simply because the headline tells you the story. So our title must be such that it is able to capture the story itself. And the story itself in a bigger sentence is called the primary purpose. So if you know one, you also know the other. एक का आंसर सही दिया, प्राइमरी पर्पस का आंसर सही दिया, तो आप टाइटल का भी आंसर सही दोगे ही दोगे. It is the other way around also. I tell my students, the best thing to do is, suppose you are in an examination and all the 3 questions have come. Do the easiest one first, because the next one is called the tone of the author. Now, I might start off my passage on a very negative note. And by the time I state my primary purpose, I might become very optimistic. Now, if I ask you which one is the tone, which one is the correct tone of the passage, where the author states his primary purpose. It's not about all the emotions that he has expressed in his writing. Primarily, the emotion expressed with the primary purpose, the main idea is the main tone of the passage. That's all. So, if you know one, you know the three. So, ये तीन क्वेश्चन जो हैं, ये तीन जो क्वेश्चन है, ये किसी को भी बहुत आसानी के साथ कर सकता है अगर प्राइमरी पर्पस जानता है तो टाइटल भी जानता है, टाइटल जानता है तो टोन भी जानता है. It's so easy. Tone sometimes flummoxes us, it bamboozles us simply because टोन के लिए वर्ड्स बहुत सारे हो जाते हैं, वोकैबुलरी की क्वेश्चन हो जाती है वो कि डायडैक्टिक, पेडेंटिक, वो लंच, बहुत सारे वर्ड्स यूज कर देता है, दिमाग हो जाता है हमारा खराब. For that, I'll give you a list. I'll give you a list of tones that we should always be aware of, and then it's okay. You can do those. Now, the third questions. Okay. Now, the third questions are indirect questions. Indirect questions are not put here because indirect questions we will discuss as a new chapter completely. Now, what are indirect questions? These comprehension-based questions, you have to understand the premise and the conclusion. You can answer this. Direct questions, indirect questions are those questions for which there is only an indication in the passage. Based on the indication, based on the data, based on the indication, I ask you different sorts of questions. What is the assumption? What is the inference? What is certainly not meant by... Yes, I'm coming to that, beta. Subiksha, we'll be talking about that one by one, okay? So how to find the correct tone? I'll tell you, we have a class on tones. Okay, so we'll discuss those. For the time being, it's simply to, now in this class, I want you to identify the summaries. I want you to identify the central idea and titles. Tones will take up later. Or maybe I can also ask you the tone here itself in the class also. Okay. So, okay. So where was I? Indirect questions. Now, what will weaken the argument? What will strengthen the argument? So these are critical reasoning questions. Of course, critical reasoning questions, indirect questions are one and the same. Indirect questions and critical reasoning questions are one and the same. Usually what happens is on a passage-based questions, that is a passage which has multiple paragraphs, I do not really ask you indirect questions. Okay. But I take a single small paragraph and then I ask you questions. Those are called critical reasoning questions, but I don't know why they call them that. Okay, because a reading comprehension can also have, a passage can also have critical reasoning questions. It doesn't really mean anything. Okay, but then for our convenience sake, smaller ones, we call them critical reasoning questions. Longer ones, we call them reading comprehension passages, whatever. Now, read this and tell me the main point. Which of the four will be the main point of this paragraph? That is what the author's main point of the passage. I'm going to take my myself out of the screen because I might disturb you. Okay. Okay. Some of you have already started giving the answers. Why not D? The question is does it look close? Even the weakest creature struggles to preserve its life. Yes, it looks close, sir. But then you're sure that it is C because easy to identify in this sort of sentences, in this sort of questions. It's easy enough, sir. So I've been able to identify C. But D does not seem to be off the mark. How do we, now comes the question, how do we separate the options? How do we separate the options? Okay, because you see here, life is as dear to a mute creature as it is to man. Okay, and everybody wants peace. You see, and the previous sentence, primarily seek peace, comfort, and security because life is dear to everybody. So C becomes the main point. And here you say, even the weakest creature struggles to preserve its life. We say it's not about struggles, it's about wanting peace, comfort, and security. Okay, it's what wanting peace, security, and comfort. Therefore, C is the main point, and D and all are maybe mentioned in the passage, but that is not the main point. The entire paragraph revolves around how living things want peace. Human beings and animals, all of them seek peace and security and comfort. Okay, so this is the one. Now, C is the correct answer. Now, let's try this. According to the passage, peace is not sought by. Peace is not sought by whom? Okay. Why not the first one? Why not the first one? How are you discounting the first one? Sir, first is not the answer. Why? None of the above. Because of the first line. Because it says in our approach to life. Now, what I have done is I took the word pragmatic. Just to confuse you, I put non and people. And people who are not reading carefully, who pragmatic word is written. Maybe that is the answer. Okay. So very good. It is none of the above. Now come to the next one. According to the passage, these are very easy, but as we go along, it will become tougher. Okay. According to the passage, C or D. So you see, Swapnil actually said C. Akash also says C. See, again, two options. Every animal faces some threat or other. So this is not what the passage suggests. It suggests fighting for survival is a basic instinct. It is there in everybody. It does not say, I may not actually face a threat, but that instinct is always there. That is what the passage is trying to say. Therefore, D is the correct one. C is a diversion. C is a diversion. Every animal faces some threat or the other. Maybe I face a threat or I do not face a threat. But what I do is the survival instinct is in me. Therefore, D. That is what the passage is saying. Good. Very nice. What do we mean by pragmatic? What do we mean by pragmatic from the last paragraph? Pragmatic is practical. Try this. Identify the sentence which is the main point in the paragraph itself. In the paragraph itself, it is clearly written. This is my primary purpose. Where is it? Okay. Which sentence? Which sentence does the paragraph have the primary purpose clearly written? Yes, very good. It is here, sir. Probably even higher than you think. It is clearly written here. That's what I'm telling you. The passage, most of the time, has the primary purpose clearly written. It is you, as a good reader, who has to find it. Okay. So the primary purpose of the passage is to tell us that we pay more taxes than we may realize. That is the main idea here. Now, try the third one. Very good. Very good again. Shreya, Swapnil, very nice. Vidyathar, very good. The answer is gambling laws are inconsistent from community to community in America. Very nice. Very nice. Now, the author agrees that good. Gambling laws are not easily. Very, very nice. Doing it right now. Now, read this. This is a bigger paragraph. Read it. And then I'll ask you some questions. Done? Okay. Do you see the primary purpose, the main idea of the author mentioned in any sentence anywhere? Not explicitly. Do you agree with Akash? First paragraph, fifth line, absolutely. You see here, he actually comes ahead and says this. I have found, based on my research, now from this place to the last, okay, that is the main idea. Absolutely, Bearson's research. Absolutely, Aditi. You are right. So, where is that clearly written? It is clearly written in the last paragraph of the the last sentence of the first paragraph. Done. Now, one who realizes that this is the main idea, he understands how he is supporting it. You see, all these are supporting information for what I claim. This is what I claim. This is the counterclaim claim to Bearson's, and then these are my supporting elements. Okay, and this is again the introduction, the background information, and then the background information. I tell the author that Bearson believes this. I don't believe it, and my reasons are these. Okay, so the main purpose is the opposition to George Bearson's research of done on marijuana. Okay, now any word that you did not understand that you want to ask me? No, I don't think there is any word here which, no. It's a simple enough passage. Now, again, a very direct question. Now. The author believes that marijuana is indeed the deceptive drug. Marijuana did not cause brain damage. Now we'll come, pretty straightforward, yes. Heavy marijuana users show slight brain damage. Which option is correct? All of the above? Now let's come back to the passage. Read now. These are direct questions. So multiple readings will also be required sometimes. Yeah. Only B and? Very good. Only B and D are correct. Okay, B is marijuana did not cause brain damage. Lethal doses of marijuana administered to animals used in tests are not representative of the damage caused to humans. That is what are the 2 points that the author believes. Okay, the 2 points he's making. So B and D must be there. Now, whenever we get such questions, how do we handle them? Again, what I do personally is I read A. Now, A cannot be there in the option. Okay, so I come here and check for wherever A is there. Okay, so 2 are gone. And then I see whenever you get this, always know how to use the options, how to eliminate the options. That is one of the things that we will need to learn if you are taking the exams of this level. Okay, these questions are pretty easy. These are very, very easy questions. But as you go along, as I start taking more classes and I start introducing you to greater concepts, then the passage will also become tough. Okay, the original passages will also be shown. Now, try this. Okay, now, now let's do a thing now here. What do you think is the primary purpose of the passage? Because that will be the question. That will be the question now. Second para, first line. Or the line 1, Mahima, very good. Very good. Two by cultivation of grapes. Very nice. Sir, this sentence seems to tell us what it is going to be. Okay. The first sentence seems to be telling us what it is going to be. Very, very good. Now, what are hieroglyphs? Okay. What are hieroglyphs? What are hieroglyphs? It's nothing but the writing. Writing by pictorial writings are called hieroglyphs. No. Hieroglyphs are the writing that represent a picture. Now, Chinese, Japanese are absolutely pictorial writings. Okay, they do not represent letters. They are more like pictures. Okay, that's why they have so many. That's why they have so many pictures. Okay, but the I've heard the Chinese alphabet is the hardest to learn. Anyway, so having that is done. Now let's give the answer for this. Tell me this. The primary purpose of the passage is to be careful, be careful. Okay. What do you think is the answer now? It's okay. You're confused now. You're literally confused. Now, let's come back to this. We will now be talking about how to choose the correct option. Are there tricks, or we just leave it to our own judgment? There are tricks. There are things that we can learn, because as a question setter, I'll be doing something. Okay. And I'll tell you that secret, how we set questions. If you understand that, then it's very easy for you. So read the passage and then let's go back and let's talk about what it actually is. Okay, let's come back. Done? Now you tell me. The primary purpose of the passage. I marked the first sentence, remember. I marked the first sentence. So is it only limited to California? Not at all. It's not limited to California. Okay, California become the main hub of viticulture. Now that's a different thing. But actually the answer is C, to tell us how viticulture has become a part of human endeavor since early civilizations. Now that's why I said it's very important to understand what we are talking about. Grapes are one of the oldest cultivated fruits. Now, oldest cultivated fruits means, did it start in California? We do not know. So how is it old? Then all the paragraphs you see, they move from one period to the other. Okay. But primarily we are talking about how viticulture happened in California. Well and good. But it's more like how, tell us how viticulture has become a part of human endeavor since early civilizations. Okay. Keeping in focus our California. But it is not to talk about whether it's a profitable business, okay, or whether to tell us how viticulture played a vital role in early civilizations. That is not the case, because we are also talking about today. And to tell us how California came to adopt viticulture. It's not telling us that. Rather, it tells us how California adopted to viticulture and how it is faring now. Okay, now D was a very close one. C was also close, and we answered C. Well and good. Now, what do we do in when I set options? Okay, this is the first filter I'm giving you. The first filter that you should be able to use is, first of all, read the question. Read the question. Now, even before that, sir, there is a long passage. There is a long passage of 5 paragraphs. What do I do? Do I read the entire passage, then go to the questions? Or I read the questions, then look for the answers, scanning, so whatever they call it, scanning, skimming, whatever. Should I do that? Or is there a better approach? For me, the approach that works best is simultaneous reading of the passage and the questions. Simultaneous reading of the passage and the questions. What am I suggesting? I'm simply telling you, if you read the first paragraph, once you've read the first paragraph, look at some questions. 1, 2, 3 questions. If they relate to the first paragraph, answer them. If they don't relate to the first paragraph, go to the second paragraph, start reading. Now increase the number of questions. You have already seen 3. Again, read the 3 questions, then also go to the 4th question if there is one. Okay. So by the time you have ended up reading at the second paragraph, you have looked at the questions twice. You have looked at the questions twice. You come to the 3rd paragraph. Again, repeat the same process. Now, if you get some questions that are relating to the passage directly, that is, if you see a direct question, you can answer it without any problem because the place that you are reading and the question are related. There is no way you are going to get the answer wrong. For direct questions, this is the best approach that can happen. So for others, we'll talk about them. Okay. So the best thing is read the passage, read the question, and as it is fresh in your memory, you are looking at that information, you will always answer it correctly. 1. Okay. Now, so what about indirect questions and comprehension-based questions? There also, as soon as you see the question, you understand that this is a comprehension-based question and it says what is the primary purpose. Now you know how to identify the primary purpose. If it is there in the first sentence itself, you're sure. You just want to read a little further. You come till the second paragraph and you understand, oh, now I understand that this is the primary purpose. You mark the answer. You mark the answer. Okay, by reading the first paragraph itself. So the best thing is to read the passage and the questions simultaneously. When you go do this, then you end up reading the questions multiple times, which is very, very important, rather than reading the passage multiple times, which wastes a lot of time. And there is always a loss of or leakage of what you have read. Do you understand? If I read the passage and then go to the question, by the time you go to the questions, you have forgotten what you had read in the first paragraph, second paragraph. Or if you read the question and are trying to find the answer, then the passage doesn't register in your mind. You're not able to understand what the passage is trying to say. So it all becomes a big khichdi. बेहतर क्या है? सबसे बेहतरीन क्या है? Question पढ़ो, passage पढ़ो, question पढ़ो, साथ में ही पढ़ते चलो. Okay. They'll not be shown at once. You can always skip, Sandeep. You can always skip. You can come back to the questions. It's not as if only if you answer this question, you can go to the next one. Is it the case? Is it the case? In most of the exams, you can, GMAT is a different question. If you're also taking the GMAT, then it's a different thing. Okay. If you're also taking the GMAT, then it's a different question. Then we'll talk about it. Okay. Then you have to attempt the question before moving on. There is no other way. Okay. But even then, what you do is read the paragraph, read the question, read the paragraph, read the question. So by the time you end up finishing that paragraph, you know what the question is. Mostly what happens is, let me tell you, my own experiences, mostly I do not understand the question well. The passage is very much there in my mind. I have not understood the question and the options well. So by reading the question multiple times and reading the passage once, my work is done. By the time I come to the last paragraph, I've understood the question really well. And I know the answer. Whatever I'm marking is my answer. Okay. So it works fine. So that is one of the things. One of the things to do. Now, it saves you a lot of time. You are reading the passage only once, but you are reading the questions multiple times. Now, come to the options. Okay. Questions. Now, sir, there are 4 options or 5 options, A, B, C, D, E. Okay. Whatever. What would I do as an exam setter? What I would do is, first of all, what is the question? The scope of the question. Suppose it is primary purpose. Suppose it is primary purpose that I want to ask you. What I'll do is, in the first option, I'll add some information which is not in the scope of the question. Question का scope क्या है? Primary purpose मांगा है. तो आपने उसमें जो लिखा है उसमें जो ऑथर ने लिखा प्राइमरी पर्पस उतना ही लिखना है, उससे कुछ भी बाहर का नहीं लिखना है. मे बी यू हैव ग्रेटर नॉलेज and the passage is only limited in knowledge. You cannot bring your information to bear upon that passage. So additional information, okay, sir, the entire primary purpose is there and there is some more. You will not take it. That is incorrect. Because I will limit myself to the data contained in the passage only. Deletion of information. What is required For the primary purpose is the conclusion and the premise. I only state the conclusion. It is an impartial, it's a partial answer. If I only tell you the premise, then I have not given you the answer. So deletion of information is not possible. C is distortion. That is, the passage is suggesting something else. If you study, you will pass, it says. But the answer given is, if you study, you will pass. And it says, if you pass, you will study. If you pass, you will study. So it has changed the data. And if you feel, okay, there, be careful how the passage has laid out its primary purpose, or whatever be the question. Okay, so distortion of information, these become the toughest, because they look very much the same. Okay, and whenever you come across an option which looks very tough to identify, you're caught between two options, go back to the question. Don't go back to the passage. Go back to the question. Understand the scope of this question. Then go back to the passage. Now you want to come back to the option. Read the paragraph, then come back to the question, then to the option. Don't miss the question, because usually what happens is two options look close because you have not understood the question well. When the question is clearly in your mind, you know what is an assumption. So I'll teach you that. Okay, what is an assumption? What is an inference? Now, the question says, what is the assumption? There are two options. One is an inference and one is an assumption. And both of them, when you forget the question, they look similar. When you forget the question, an assumption will look like an inference and an inference will look like an assumption, and you get stuck. Okay, so it is important to go from the passage to the question, then to the option. Do the same thing. Go back from the passage to the question, then to the passage. You will never ever miss it. You will always get your answer right. Okay, distortion and digression. Going away from the topic. Okay, the question is something else, the answer is something else. Maybe this is true according to the passage D. Okay, digression. Okay, maybe it is according to the passage, it is true, but it is not relevant to the question. And then one answer must be correct. One answer must be correct. Now, this is the primary filter that you should use. It is the most basic filter you can use. As we go along, I'll teach you some syllogisms, how to make sense of a sentence written, what could be the logic, sir? Things like probably true, probably false, all those things I'll teach you. Okay, but that will come later. But for the time being, we have learned one thing today. What have we done? We know how to find the primary purpose. We know how to find I have not given you title questions yet. I'll show you title questions. Okay, and we know how to answer how to read the passage and how to answer them. And the first filter. Now let's come to the next one. Read this. Done? Very nice. All of you, Akash says done. Others? Okay. Unnati, everybody. Okay. Come to the question. Do you find the primary purpose here? Which sentence could be, which one? Which one, Akash? First para, second line. So if you have understood the first paragraph, you have understood the passage. Everything else, very nice. Everything else is in support of it. Okay. So tell me the answer to this question. Okay. Most of you said D. My question is, why not the first one? A. Yes, 2 pi. Absolutely. Why not A? Aditi says A. 2. Yes. You say D. But A is a very close option. Tell me why it is not A. And I'll tell you, answer is D. Answer is D. But why is A wrong? Tell me any of those reasons. I said addition, deletion, diversion, digression, whatever. Tell me how will you label the first one? How will you classify the first one and to say that, sir, I eliminate this because of this particular reason? Distortion. What is the distortion, Beta Shailza? Very good. It is distortion. But what is the distortion? Very good. The word everything changes completely. Very, very nice. Absolutely. That is why. And Akash, very good. You're trying to talk about this. I'm trying to talk about this. So whenever you are in a fix, what we try to do is, why is an option wrong? Don't try to justify the option that you have chosen as correct. Rather, try to eliminate the others by saying that this is wrong because it suffers from a particular problem. See, Unnati says, because the passage is more in favor of D. That I too know. The problem is, what is the problem in A? Because the problem, it says everything in front of us is not continuous. That is distortion, complete distortion. Maybe everything is continuous, but our eyes do not catch that. Our eyes do not catch that continuity. Okay, so it is struggling to give us that continuity, which is caught very well in the line D. That is what is the passage about. Very nice. So see, as the passages increase in your or become tougher in their say questions, we also start getting stuck. I'm going to show you one more passage. Okay, we'll do this in other classes. Okay, in say in detail, but let's do one. Give me the summary of the passage. Now, the summary of the passage must have the primary purpose and the premise together in fewer number of sentences, fewer number of words. Okay, a summary is not a précis. We are not trying to write a précis. Okay, here I'm writing a summary means there are say 100 words written. I'm trying to reduce the number of words and tell you the crux of the story. Again, addition, deletion, distortion, digression must be avoided. So tell me which one is the correct summary of the above passage. Totalitarianism is nothing but dictatorship, autocracy. Which one is the main idea in the passage? Which are the two sentences which can act as the primary purpose of the passage? The two sentences. And then add them together. See, Aditi and Subiksha. Okay, the first sentence, very good. First of all, the first line, very good. There is one more sentence which can also help you. Not always by dictate. Then what? The first sentence itself, and then he gives reasons. It can be insinuated by suggestion and replication. Okay, it can be insinuated by suggestion and replication is one of the things he says, and then says dissent does not have to be banned by it if it is counted by orchestrated mass promotion. Okay, and there is a last sentence, absolutely, Akash. Then the last sentence. Then any dissident who wants his intellectual liberty will find himself thwarted by a general drift of society. Now tell me, add the two sentences together and tell me which one is the correct one. Which one is the correct sentence? Okay. First is a good choice. Well, take first is a good choice. One more. Tell me one more. Tell me one more. Answer is 4. Okay. Swapnil also says, okay, there are two answers possible. 1 and 4. Tell me which one. Do the addition, deletion, distortion, and then tell me what is the problem. See, 2 and 3, I'll tell you, they are not answers. They both convey how we don't need a diktat. Okay. Now, D is the final answer. Why? Why? There is the problem, you see. If D is the correct answer, then why is D the correct answer? Because of the word, totalitarianism is generally operated by undermining the freedom of expression through active. This is against what it is trying to say. Okay? It is insinuated by suggestion and replication. It is not active persecution. It is not active persecution. That is what the first one says. Totalitarianism is not always operated by diktat, matlab orders. I don't have to actually do that in front. यही करना होगा, ऐसे ही करना पड़ेगा, ये repression करने की जरूरत नहीं है, मैं indirectly भी कर सकता हूँ. So this active is the word which is wrong. Which is wrong. Yeah, absolutely. A is completely different idea from the other. Therefore, fourth is the answer. Now, why not second? Hypnotizing oratory and promo rallies can effectively, what is it saying? Okay. It says effectively counter dissent and lead to persecution of the masses. Okay. Now, this part is not clear. This part is not suggested by the passage. The second part. And it does not tell us about the second part. Hypnotizing oratory and promo rallies can effectively counter dissent and lead to the persecution, lead to the indirect persecution of liberal-minded people. Something like that would have made second also correct. Okay. Then the third one, self-regulation and self-censorship in society stifle freedom of expression. Okay. Then stifle, it's not stifling. Stifling is only controlling. He says, will find himself thwarted. Means you will not be able to do what, you will not be able to show your dissent. You should, intellectual liberty, if you're talking about liberty, you won't get the liberty. It's just self-regulation and self-censorship in societies stifle freedom of expression. Now, this is a very good one. C is also very good. But C only is partial. Okay, intellectual property does not have to be repressed by authority. If there is self-appointed vigilantes to bully it into silence, this is a complete answer. It is C is a partial answer. Very nice. Very, very nice. Now, give me the answer to this. Which one is the best title? Now, if you chose D as the answer, then I told you title is very closely related to the primary purpose. So if you say D is the answer, 4 is the answer for this, then tell me the answer for this. First or second? Colors, different shades. Then it's a boon in disguise? Not at all, Sandeep. It's not a boon. It's not something an advantage. So now tell me. Now there are two answers which are very, very close. Boon in disguise? No, it's not a boon. Okay, it's the bane of the word. That is also not given. Which one? Read the passage again. Read the passage. That's how close it becomes. Is it totalitarianism and individual liberty, or totalitarianism in its many hues? Let's come to the passage. Totalitarianism is not always operated by diktat. Get the point? So the answer is 1. The answer is 1. That's how we do it. Doesn't need to be direct. Absolutely. So it has many ways. Therefore, 1, 2 looks very, very good, sir. 2 looks very good, but it does not bring out the negative aspect of individual liberty vis-a-vis totalitarianism. Individual liberty vis-a-vis totalitarianism. It's a very bland kind of, it's a neutral. See, this title gives us a neutral tone, but the passage has kind of, you're cheated. You see, it is trying to tell us that in its many colors, you don't have to practice totalitarianism explicitly. It can also be done implicitly. So first one catches the idea much better. It's here, madam. Vigilantes, see, you don't have to use that particular word, but you see, despotic establishments do not need to turn Hitlerian. All they need to do is let the chemistry work. Self-regulation and self-censorship will kick in. These are the vigilantes. Okay. Then any dissident who has his individual property will find himself thwarted by a general drift of societies. Now, general drift of society, I want to wear this, but somebody is there who supports the idea of a particular brand of belief, exported or spread by the establishment. Okay, and then they come and say, you are not supposed to wear this. You're not supposed to do that. Individual freedom is put into question. Okay, so this is how we'll be doing our questions. So now you know. Now ask me your questions. Whatever questions you want to ask me, you can ask now. Okay. What all do you want to ask me? The first thing is, somebody was asking me, sir, how to identify the tones. Don't worry, I'll give you a list of this one. But what happens is, we have when it comes to tones questions, usually what happens is the same word can actually go, say, like if I say, I'm irritated. Okay. Now, there can be a higher degree of irritation, the highest degree of irritation, and it can be furious. And in between, there could be so many different hues of tone. Yeah, I'll give you sheets. Please repeat the kind of filters: addition, deletion, distortion, digression, addition, deletion, distortion, digression. Okay. And tones can also, like See, I can make fun of you very lightheartedly. I can actually go to the point of making it more, say, hurting than of making fun of you. So let's start with saying mocking. Okay. And I go to a place where it becomes sardonic. Okay. Or even there is another, this word called lampooning. Publicly criticizing you and making fun of you, lampooning. So I'll give you a list how these words are arranged in, say, their degrees of intensity, which can help you identify which tone a particular passage is in. But all said and done, we have to read a lot. That is one of the things you should do. If you're not a good reader, then please inculcate the habit of reading. Read anything. Make sure that you're at least reading one book a month. I would suggest 2 books a month.